Vocal fatigue, pitch control, literally finding your voice. We have a lot to talk about today. Let's get into it. Welcome to Nashville Artist Development University, where we provide artists with education and resources to build a full-time music career and a healthy life around music. My name's Corey Brunson. I've been a full-time musician, performer, recording artist, and singer for the past 20 years. If you haven't yet, make sure you like and subscribe to make sure you don't miss any of our future releases, and check out the information at naduniversity.com in the link below. So let's talk about becoming a world-class vocalist today. There's a lot of nuances to this, and I want to dive right into it. First of all is let's talk about vocal fatigue. Let's talk about vocal health. And I want to start with what I call the holy trinity of vocal care, all right? Number one, hydration. You have to be hydrated. We cannot go into Guitar Center and buy a set of strings off the wall. Our instrument resides right here. And as singers, vocalists, we don't have a choice. We have to keep it hydrated. We can't go buy another one, right? So it's a big challenge for us as singers. It's very unique compared to any other instruments that are played out there. There's really no other instrument that you have inside your body. So hydration is really important. And I want to talk about a couple of things today. One, don't forget that your vocal folds are in your windpipe. So when you drink honey, lemon, any of those things that you're thinking about that I've heard over the years, remember that none of that touches your vocal folds. If it did, you would drown because you'd be pouring water down your windpipe. So just keep that in mind. We hydrate from the inside out. The one exception to that is steam. Steam is something that you can take in, you can breathe in, and will actually touch your vocal folds. So steam is good source of hydration, but there's nothing better than just drinking lots of water, avoiding salts, avoiding fried foods and oils. You have to stay hydrated for those vocal folds to come together properly and work the way they're supposed to. Number two is warm up, proper warm ups. And if you haven't developed a good warm-up system, you really need to do that. And I'm not really here to teach you how to do that today. Mine is I just do me, me, ma, mo, moo, and I start low and I start going high, probably like many of you do. Me, me, ma, mo, moo. Me, me, ma, mo, moo. And I just keep going. And when I do that warm-up, when I start feeling it getting a little bit fatigued, I'll stop. Some people don't stop in the middle of their warm-up. You need to do that. Give your muscles and your voice just a minute or two to recover and then go back into it and then keep going. I have 3 songs that I do religiously that are my low, medium, and high range songs. So once I do my warm-up, I'll rest again a couple of minutes. I'm usually doing this in the shower because of the steam. And then I'll go into these songs. So those are the way that I warm up, and you probably have your own way of doing it. I also like to do a thing before I start my warm up of warming up my abdominal muscles. And I'll press my teeth together and I'll create back pressure for that. And I just go and I can use my tongue to create more or less pressure. And what I'm trying to do is work my abdominals and just get those things warmed up a little bit. So that's a few of the things that I do to warm up. You may have your own way to do it. That's great, but just make sure that you're doing that consistently, even on the days when you're not singing. We're all guilty of not warming up enough. I'll raise my hand, but warming up is definitely a huge part of the Holy Trinity of voice care. Let's all commit to doing it more. Number 3, the last part of the Holy Trinity of voice care is a little more difficult. The first 2 are really in your control for the most part. I would say almost all the time. The third one can be very much out of your control at times. The third one is rest. There is nothing better than a well-rested body and a well-rested voice for great singing and great vocal care. So when a voice is being rested, when your body's being rested, when you've had a good night's sleep, when you are resting in between sets, I am so guilty of not doing this well. You do a 45-minute set, you have 15 minutes off. It is so hard sometimes for us as singers, and I get it, to just go off by yourself. You feel lonely. You feel out of the social circle. You want to go joke with your bandmates or meet fans or whatever it is you want to do. But you need that rest, okay? One of the best vocal coaches here in Nashville, she told me over and over, you need to rest your voice during that 15 minutes. You need to get rest the night before. You need to get rest in between sets. That's the most challenging one for me. I'm sure it is probably for most of you out there as well. But anyway, the holy trinity of vocal care as best we can: hydration, warm up, and rest. So let's talk about maybe a fourth one. Let's give you a little bonus here today. There is a fourth element of all this, and it's one that I would say is equally as important as the other three, but it's not as cool to say the Holy Trinity plus one. So, but it really is the Holy Trinity plus one more. Or as my kids when they were little say, plus a shark. I don't know why they would say that because kids are amazing. But technique. Technique is how are you singing live versus how are you singing in the studio? And how are you warming up? Your warm up technique, right? We talked about that a little bit. A lot of times when I'm practicing singing or I'm warming up my voice, and this comes again from Melissa Kirby, one of the best vocal coaches in Nashville. When you're singing, if you're singing, I'm a running down the road trying to loosen my load. If you're singing that, start out with just going, letting your tongue completely relax in your mouth. You're not even creating vowels and consonants particularly. So you might go, obviously, you're not going to sing it like that, but it's just a great way to warm up and to practice that technique. And the more you can sing it like that live, the more efficient you're going to be with your vocal technique, and the longer your voice is going to last, and it's going to take longer for you to approach and achieve burnout, which is not what we want, obviously. So a lot of times I'll go, I've seen people actually put their fingers in their mouth, that kind of stuff. So technique. The other technique I want to talk to you about is when you're performing live. I've seen a lot of big artists and I've seen a lot of not so famous artists do the same mistake. I did it early in my career. I would sing the same way live that I would do in the recording studio. Okay. In the recording studio, you can sing one, especially nowadays with digital, you can sing one line and just give it all you got and kind of tear up your voice a little bit if it gets the right take and it's worth it. And then you can just stop and take a break and, whatever. When you're in a live situation and you got an hour show or more or whatever, you have to be healthy to get through it all. And there is something I would say, I tell artists, just sing 101% of what the power you need to get through the tone and get through the notes to get through the set. My live performance voice is not the same as my studio voice. For some of you, maybe that's a new concept, but it's a very healthy concept. How much of my voice do I need to fatigue to get through a live show and still have the audience say, that was amazing. That vocalist is incredible. There are moments where you go back and forth, right? Where you go, la, 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 right? That's very easy. Or if we go, la, 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 la. So, la, 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 la. So in the middle there, I'm kind of tearing my voice up a little bit, but I'm getting back into the smooth tone later. So think about your technique. Think about how you're singing live and how you can protect your voice while you're singing in those ways, and do that little dance of efficient tone creation, still hitting pitch, but maybe it's not the hardest part that maybe you would do in the studio to create that emotion, right? Does that make sense? I hope it does. The last part of technique I want to talk about is something I saw with Ricky Carmichael. He is they call him the GOAT, greatest of all time, dirt bike rider of all time. So he had a picture one time where he was up in the air in Supercross. Some of you have seen that, where they up in the air for a little while and they showed his hand, and his hand was on the handlebar and it was like this. It wasn't holding on to it. It was like this for a minute. He had that 1 second in the air where he rested his hand. And then when he got back on the ground, of course, he grabbed that again. But if he's white knuckling that handlebar the whole time, eventually his hand's just going to give out. So it gives him a moment of rest. And I started applying that to my live performances. You would be amazed how much that helps. So when you're going da 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 da, la da 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 da, right? I'm just making stuff up. So as you're doing that, can you go la da 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 da, la da 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 da? I'm showing it for visual effect of what you're doing with these muscles, but if you just relax them, most of us keep tension on that the entire time, even during those little breaks. So if you can consciously think, it will not come naturally, but if you can consciously think when I'm in between phrases or even if it's a half a second or 3 seconds or whatever it is, if you can practice on and then get back into it, of physically relaxing that, you'd be shocked the stamina that will bring back into your live performance. So that's another piece of technique that you can apply. So one more piece of being a great world-class singer is be yourself. But don't use that as an excuse. I know we talked about this in other videos. A lot of artists will say, well, I'm just being myself and that's okay. You might suck. Let's just be honest between you and me. You might not be that great just being yourself. So don't use that as an excuse. You need to be the very best version of yourself that you can be. So work on your techniques, work on your warm up, work on hydration, work on getting rest, work on all that stuff, but also pay attention to your own identity, your own brand. We have a branding pillar. I've mentioned it before that a lot of artists don't take the time to go through with NADUuniversity.com. You would do yourself such a favor by going through that and discovering and working on it's not a magic pill, nothing is, but it'll help. And rediscovering who you are as an artist and literally finding your voice, your physical voice and your voice as an artist, okay? Be yourself. Don't try to be other people. We use the song Amazing Grace as a way of doing that. Many of you are familiar with that song. And the reason we use it is if you sing Amazing Grace, nobody has really branded that song with their voice. If I tell you to sing Friends in Low Places, you're going to have a tendency to not go, blame it all on my roots. You're going to sing, blame it all on my roots. You're going to sing it like Garth Brooks, okay? Or any other song, if you do a Bruno Mars song, you're going to sing it like Bruno Mars. But if you sing Amazing Grace, nobody's really branded that. So try that out. Sing that song the way you sing it and take time to really, I've been really guilty of not doing this over the years because I've sung so many cover songs. Sometimes my voice has gotten lost in the menagerie of all that. So don't lose your voice. Keep your voice, work on your brand, and discover what makes you uniquely you, but then make it the best it can be. Don't suck. Tom Hanks said that one time inside the actor studio. There was an actor or an actress asking him, for advice, and he just said, don't suck. Because they need people that don't suck. It's pretty good advice. So be your own vocalist, be your own singer, find your voice, discover your brand, but don't suck. Be great, be amazing, become a world-class singer. And I want to add to that, never stop auditioning. This process, you never arrive. Sorry. You can get above a certain plane of being happy with what you're doing and being comfortable and being viable in the music business. But we never really arrive at a place where we're done. We're fully cooked and finished. So this is a great lesson for life. If you're in a relationship I've been married 28 years. One of the things I tell myself is never stop auditioning for this woman. Never stop auditioning, right? That happens a lot. So this is a little bit of bonus life advice that I have as well. But when you're singing, when you're performing, when you're in front of a crowd, when you're working on your voice, it never stops. Never stop the audition process, really in anything in your life and especially in your music career. That's good advice. That one's for free. Last thing, I have to give you a caveat. Otherwise, I'm going to go crazy worrying about this at night. I have to make sure I say this. Some of you already know this. Some of you may not. But let's not make the mistake. Don't you make the mistake of thinking that the best singer wins the prize. That is not true. That is not true. There's a ton of singers out there that are okay singers that are wildly successful. And we all know, I know, we all know incredible singers that are way better than we are that aren't successful and don't have full-time music careers. Okay, so there's a balance with everything that I'm saying here. Okay, this video is about being the best version of yourself that you can be. It's about becoming the best singer, the most world-class possible singer you can be, and still being yourself, but not buying into this lie that has destroyed so many people's lives and careers by thinking that this is not a vocal competition unless you're on The Voice, right? Which is what we all see, what we all know. There's a little bit more of that in that world. Even then, it's really about characterization and winning over fans. But I live in the real world of the music business, making a living, loving life, living in the beautiful middle of the music business, making a living for me and my family. And you will shortchange yourself in so many ways if you think that the best singer and the best player, we are in a subjective medium, folks. There is no best. I can't throw a ball and have somebody clock it at 150 miles an hour and say you're in the Major League Baseball league now because we can calculate it, right? We don't live in that world. You can't calculate that you're the best singer. All you can do is be the best version of yourself that you can be, and then build your business, build your music career, build a healthy life around music. You can be an okay singer and have a fantastic career. How many artists can you think of that you could say that about? Probably a lot. There's a lot of artists out there, you go see them live and they're like, okay, but you just love the music, you love the whole brand, and they're very successful. So don't fall into that lie, okay? Had to say that, had to get it off my chest. If you know of some other singers that might need to hear some of this information, hit that share button, send this off to somebody else that might need to hear it today, and let's go down the road less traveled together.